Right then, folks, let's get into it because there's plenty happening in the world of Celtic right now as we edge ever closer to Sunday's trip up north to face Aberdeen. And the first thing we've got to touch on is the big story breaking from the SPFL. They've decided to come down hard on pyro use, and Celtic have been caught in the crossfire. So here's the deal. After flares were lit by fans in the North Curve during Trophy Day against St. Mirren, we're talking before the match, and according to the SPFL, even during it, the league's disciplinary hammer has swung. The ruling says we breached rules H36 and H37, which basically cover all kinds of unacceptable conduct in matches. As punishment, there's now a suspended sanction hanging over the club, a cut of 200 tickets from that same section of Celtic. Park for one future SPFL match. And here's the kicker that reduction will automatically be triggered if there's another pyro incident in any SPFL competition before the end of June 2026. In other words, for the next couple of seasons, there's no margin for error. This means that if something similar happens again, understatement's wording makes it sound like it could be at any ground, though it's not entirely clear. We could end up with 200 empty seats at home in one of the most passionate areas of the stadium. That would be a shame for atmosphere and for the fans who make the noise week in, week out. And if you got a good memory, you'll remember that earlier this year, the SPFL already hit us with another sanction of 500 ticket cut for the next League Cup semi-final. We reach at Hampden. Another breach there, and it jumps to 800. So it's clear the league isn't messing about anymore. They've had enough of the flares and smoke bombs, and they're enforcing stricter measures. Now look, pyro is one of those topics that splits opinion right down the middle. Some see it as part of the football culture, a visual statement that can create incredible scenes. Others point out the health risks and safety issues, and that's not something to ignore either. In some countries, especially in parts of Scandinavia, it's regulated in a way that works, but Scotland's authorities aren't going down that road. They're going for zero tolerance. It'll be interesting to see what happens from here. Will we see a drop-off in pyro? Or will it carry on with the club forced to accept empty seats as part of the deal? And remember, it's not just Celtic. Other clubs have been hit too. Aberdeen, Partick, Thistle, Rangers, Motherwell. The problem is spread across Scottish football. The SPFL clearly wants to stamp it out entirely. Now moving from the stands to the pitch, James Forrest stepped up for media duties at Celtic Park yesterday. But before we dive into what he had to say, the reason he was in front of the cameras is worth highlighting. Celtic had invited a group of season ticket holders with sensory impairments to the stadium for the Touching the Trophies experience. It gave blind and partially sighted fans, along with others with sensory challenges, the chance to physically connect with the silverware we lifted last season. A brilliant gesture from the club, and one that shows the effort to make Celtic Park inclusive for everyone. Football is for all of us, no matter the challenges we face in life, and moments like that underline it. Forrest was part of that event before sitting down with the press and fan media. When asked about his personal goals for the season, his answer was typically grounded. He just wants to be fit, be available, and contribute whenever called upon. As a winger at Celtic, he knows the expectation: create chances, score goals, make an impact, whether you start or come off the bench. No grand declarations. Just a determination to keep enjoying his football and help the team win more trophies. Of course, the topic of European travel came up, specifically the prospect of a grueling trip to Kazakhstan. Forrest's take was calm. The sports science staff will handle the time zone challenges as they have before, and the players just need to get on with it. Many in the squad are internationals who regularly travel long distances for matches, so it's nothing new. His focus, whoever Celtic face, wherever it is, be ready to win. Then there's the question everyone's asking: is this squad good enough for the Champions League? As it stands, Forrest kept it professional. The transfer window's still open for a few more weeks, and whether new faces arrive or not, the same squad we've got is confident. Competition for places is something he welcomes. After all, Celtic always sign attackers, and it pushes everyone to raise their game. Seeing what another winger does and learning from them is part of the process. Naturally, the conversation shifted to priorities. With a packed month ahead, league games, potential European qualifiers, and big domestic clashes, how does the team stay focused for Forrest? It's about taking it one game at a time. You start looking 2 or 3 matches ahead, and you risk slipping up in the here and now. The coaching staff might plan long term, but for the players, it's all about the next 90 minutes. And speaking of the here and now, Forrest reflected on Flag Day at Celtic Park last weekend. It's always special. Walking up the hill to the roar of the crowd, feeling that connection before kickoff. St. Mirren made it tough, but Celtic dug in and grabbed the win late on. That's the sort of resilience that needs to carry into Sunday's match at Pittodrie, where Aberdeen will be eager to make life difficult. There was also a nice moment about reuniting with an old teammate. Forrest said it's like he never left, slotting straight back in with both players and staff. And when asked if last season's Scottish Cup final defeat still stings, he admitted no one wants to end the campaign that way, but insisted the focus is firmly on getting another 3 points this weekend. One other talking point is Forrest's age and contract situation. He turned 34 this summer. Hard to believe, but he's been at Celtic his entire career, and he's now into the final year of his deal. There's no talk of retirement just yet, but it's on the horizon. Forrest has said he's enjoying his football more than ever over the past 18 months, conscious that the end is closer than the beginning. He's also hinted at wanting to finish his career at Celtic, which would make him the first genuine one-club man here since Paul McStay in the late 90s, a rare achievement in the modern game. He doesn't know exactly what comes next, no coaching badges yet, but he wants to stay in football in some capacity. Coaching club ambassador, media work, all possibilities. For now, though, it's about the season in front of him. And as far as the present day goes, he's still Celtic's best natural right winger, even if the squad needs reinforcements in that position. That's where things stand heading into the weekend. A bit of off-field drama with the SPFL, a steady voice from one of the club's veterans, and the build-up to what's always a tricky away day in Aberdeen. And we've not even touched on Brendan Rodgers' next press conference yet. You just know transfers, or the lack of them, will be a hot topic, whether he wants to talk about them or not. Alright, so let's keep this rolling because the rest of the week's news has been just as lively, and it all feeds into the bigger picture of where Celtic stand right now. While the focus naturally shifts to Pittodrie on Sunday, there's been plenty happening elsewhere that paints a wider view of Scottish football and what we're walking into this season. Thursday night brought a bit of a boost for the Premiership. As a whole, with Scottish clubs performing well in Europe, Dundee United went away to Rapid Vienna and came back with a hard-earned draw, the kind of result that shows a bit of grit on foreign soil. Then you had Hibs pulling off a cracking 2-0 win away to Partizan Belgrade, which, let's be honest, isn't an easy place to go and get anything. It's still early in the campaign, but results like that start to shift the mood around the league. It's a reminder that maybe the standard across the board is nudging upward again. If that's the case, it could mean a more competitive league for Celtic this year. Tougher away days, more intense matches, and fewer games where you can get away with being even slightly off the pace. And in a strange way, that's no bad thing. As long as the improvement comes from other teams raising their level rather than Celtic slipping back, it can sharpen us for the bigger tests in Europe. There's something more satisfying about winning the league when the challengers are putting you under genuine pressure. Imagine going to Easter Road, Pittodrie or Fir Park, knowing you're in for a proper battle every time. It makes the victories all the sweeter. Motherwell, for example, looked impressive against a Rangers side that was far from convincing last weekend. It's small signs like that which suggest we might be in for a season where every point has to be fought for, where complacency gets punished quickly. That means Brendan Rodgers will need the squad firing on all cylinders with depth in every position. And yet here we are still talking about the lack of signings in key areas, which is bound to come up again in his next press conference. Speaking of which, Rodgers will be facing the media again before the Aberdeen match, and you can bet the questions about transfers will be relentless. He's already admitted after the last game that he's getting tired of talking about it, but that's not going to stop reporters pushing for an update. We know he doesn't like to give too much away publicly, and if the club's working behind the scenes on deals, they're keeping it very quiet. But the longer we go without adding the players we clearly need, the more restless the fans get, especially with the Champions League qualifiers looming. On the subject of rumours, one name floating around has been Jacob Brüm from the Eredivisie. But before anyone gets carried away, the latest is that he missed his club's league opener simply because of an ankle injury picked up in the Super Cup. Their manager's already confirmed he should be back next week, so it's not a case of being left out ahead of a transfer. That's the reality with the summer window. You hear a name, it disappears, another one pops up, and all the while the games keep coming. As for Sunday's match, the officials have been confirmed with John Beaton taking charge, assisted by David McGeechee and Graham Stewart and Andrew Dallas on VAR duty. Celtic have historically had an excellent record at Pittodrie, but that doesn't mean the fixture comes without risk. Aberdeen will be right up for it, particularly at home, and they'll see this as a chance to land an early blow in the title race. Add to that the fact that we're still betting in new players and trying to find our rhythm, and it's exactly the sort of game where dropping points is a real danger if the performance isn't spot on. One of the intriguing elements of this season will be how the squad handles the sheer volume of games. Once Europe kicks in, we'll be looking at midweek fixtures stacked on top of the league calendar, and that's where depth becomes non-negotiable. The players who aren't starting every week will need to be ready to come in and deliver without missing a beat. That's where Forrest's earlier point about competition for places rings true. You need that edge in training, that internal push to keep standards high. And then there's the long-term picture. Forrest is in the last year of his deal, as are Kasper Schmeichel and Johnny Kenny, with a few more set to expire the following summer, including Dazen Mader, Anthony Ralston, and Stephen Welsh. You'd expect the club to sort extensions for key names sooner rather than later, but until the ink's dry on the contracts, the uncertainty lingers. Supporters always want reassurance that the core of the squad will be kept together, especially when the team is still in the hunt for silverware on multiple fronts. Forrest himself, despite his age, still has the respect of the dressing room and the fan base. He's one of those players who's seen it all, won it all, and still manages to make an impact when called upon. You can feel he's aware the clock's ticking on his playing career, but there's no sense of him winding down mentally. If anything, he seems more determined to enjoy every minute, whether that's starting a big match or coming on to change the game. He might not be the winger who played 40 or 50 games a season anymore, but his quality in key moments hasn't faded. You also get the feeling he understands the importance of the club's connection with his supporters, that touching. The trophies event was a perfect example. It's about making every fan feel part of the success no matter their circumstances. And in a season where off-field debates about pyro ticket sanctions and transfers can sometimes overshadow the football moments like that, bring the focus back to what really matters, the shared love for the club. Looking ahead, the build-up to Aberdeen is all about keeping the early momentum from that Flag Day win over St. Mirren. It wasn't pretty and it wasn't comfortable, but it was a reminder that Celtic can find a way through even when the game gets scrappy. The hope now is to start faster at Pittodrie, impose our game early, and avoid giving the home crowd something to feed on. Because make no mistake, Aberdeen will look to disrupt the rhythm, play physically, and test our defensive organization. RODGERS will no doubt have his plan, but it'll also come down to individual performances. The spine of the team needs to be strong. Keeper, centre-backs, midfield pivot. And then it's about the wide players and forwards taking their chances. We've seen enough over the years to know that in games like this, you might only get 2 or 3 clear opportunities, and you gotta be ruthless when they come. Whatever happens on Sunday is just one step in what's shaping up to be a fascinating season. The league looks sharper, the European stage is approaching, and Celtic are still juggling the challenges of strengthening the squad while managing expectations. The narrative is building, and it feels like the kind of campaign where the storylines will keep twisting from week to week. If Celtic can come through this next run of games with maximum points and a few new faces added before the window shuts, the mood will shift quickly. But if we stumble in the league or fall short in Europe while still waiting for reinforcements, the pressure will ramp up. Not just on RODGERS, but on the club hierarchy. For now, though, the job is clear. Keep winning, keep pushing, and keep the noise about transfers in the background as much as possible. That's the mindset going into Aberdeen. One match at a time, but with the bigger picture always there in the background, shaping every decision and every performance. And with Celtic, you just know there'll be more twists before the month is out. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Celtic Park has been buzzing with speculation ever since Brendan Rodgers made a rather startling declaration regarding midfield maestro Matt O'Reilly. In a press conference filled with tension and veiled remarks, Rodgers dropped what may be the most telling statement of the summer so far. Matt O'Reilly won't wear our shirt again. While the manager didn't go into exact detail, the remark has sparked a whirlwind of rumors among fans and pundits alike. Could it be a disciplinary issue? Perhaps a fallout behind closed doors? Or is the Danish international already in the final stages of a transfer to one of Europe's elite clubs? Rodgers has always been measured with his words, so for him to be this blunt suggests that something major is happening behind the scenes. O'Reilly, who had a phenomenal season last year and played a vital role in securing the domestic double, has been a target of various clubs in England, Germany, and even Spain. With his composure, passing range, and eye for goal, it's hardly surprising that big names have been knocking. Still, Rodgers' sudden confirmation feels more like an inevitability than an announcement, and it's left fans stunned and searching for answers that aren't immediately forthcoming. There's also a growing belief in the Celtic community that the club may already have received an irresistible offer for O'Reilly, possibly from a Premier League giant. The player, whose market value has skyrocketed over the last 12 months, was reportedly attracting interest from the likes of Brighton, West Ham, and even Tottenham. Though nothing official has been confirmed by the club, Rodgers' candid words seem to suggest that a deal may already be done pending formalities. Whispers around Lennox Town claim that O'Reilly hasn't trained with the first team in over a week, and several sources close to the player suggest he's cleaning out his locker. It's all speculative at this stage, but the tone of Rodgers' comment points towards a door that's already been closed. Some fans are lamenting the potential loss, while others see it as the club cashing in at the right time. In any case, it feels like the end of an era for the Hoops midfield dynamo, whose blend of youth and maturity made him one of the most promising players to wear the green and white in recent memory. Interestingly, this situation mirrors some of the high-profile exits Celtic has managed in recent years, where a key player suddenly becomes the subject of transfer speculation before disappearing from the squad list entirely. What separates this moment from others, however, is Rodgers' outright confirmation before any official club statement or farewell post from the player. Usually, these things are handled with a bit more finesse, a nod on social media, a farewell message, or at the very least a warm send-off. But with O'Reilly, it's as if the chapter closed overnight. Fans are left wondering if something happened to sour the relationship, or if the club simply received an offer they couldn't turn down. There's also the ongoing question of whether Rodgers, known for his meticulous man management, might be sending a message to the board about needing reinforcements. After all, losing a player like O'Reilly without a visible replacement lined up would put immense pressure on the squad, especially with European qualifiers looming. Regardless of the motives, Rodgers' bluntness has turned what should have been a carefully managed transfer into a rumor-fueled frenzy. The timing of all this couldn't be more delicate, with Celtic preparing for a crucial stretch in both domestic and European campaigns. Losing a key figure like O'Reilly could significantly disrupt squad dynamics. Many fans have pointed out that the club has yet to bring in a midfield replacement of similar caliber, and time is running short. While Celtic are no strangers to high-profile exits, they've usually managed to soften the blow with a marquee signing or two. As of now, no such announcement has been made, adding more weight to the uncertainty. Rodgers, while clearly experienced and composed, might also be dealing with internal frustrations, perhaps over budget constraints or recruitment delays. This adds another layer to his stark statement about O'Reilly. Was it merely an admission of fact, or a calculated move to push the board into action? Supporters are split in their interpretations, but one thing is clear. The transfer saga surrounding Matt O'Reilly is shaping up to be more dramatic and consequential than anyone initially expected. If a move is indeed imminent, fans will be expecting answers and assurances, not just in press conferences, but on the pitch. What comes next is anyone's guess, but the air around Celtic Park is thick with tension and anticipation. Some insiders claim that O'Reilly has already agreed personal terms with a foreign club, while others insist that nothing is finalized and that Rodgers' comment was more about drawing a line under protracted negotiations. Whatever the truth, the Celtic faithful are now bracing for a summer twist they didn't see coming. O'Reilly has been a fan favorite, and his departure, if confirmed, will undoubtedly leave a void both in midfield and in the hearts of many supporters. Still, there's hope that the club's scouting network has a few surprises up its sleeve. Names like Paulo Bernardo and Gustav Lagerbielke have surfaced in discussions, though neither would directly replace O'Reilly's unique skill set. Rodgers, for his part, seems to have made peace with the situation, or perhaps he's resigned to a reality dictated by football economics. As the rumor mill continues to churn, All eyes will be on the club's next move. Will Celtic reinvest quickly? Or will the silence stretch uncomfortably into the season's first fixtures? For now, one thing is certain. Matt O'Reilly's time in Glasgow appears to be over. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.